14th of September 2013, Saturday afternoon, Allianz Stadium, elimination final, Sharks Cowboys. Like a lot of big games, including one as well known as this, it is difficult to pick out the moment. The cloud of Asada, an error with the first touch of the football, conceding a try in just the second minute, a star player on one leg, a halftime lead, a kick to tie it up that finds the post, entering the final 10 minutes behind on the scoreboard, appearing to concede a try right on full time, a clock that just wouldn't stop on full time itself. Obviously, this game was remembered for just one moment, though, that seventh tackle try. So focusing on that would just do an injustice to everything else that happened in this game. However, this game almost had it all. Welcome to another episode of Classic Cronulla Chronicles. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fan podcast that lets its talking do the football. And tonight I'm on my lonesome again, a bit of a quick episode, hurried together due to circumstances this week. Unfortunately, we are playing week 2 of the finals against the dreaded, or whichever way you want to look at it, Cowboys anyway, at the Sydney Football Stadium, the new Allianz Stadium on Friday night. And so we're looking at an equivalent match. And normally I'd look at a week 2 finals match. I was hoping to bring you the 2002 Dragons game, but I think that would be better done with other people. This one as well. I wasn't in attendance for this match. I had work on and an obligation I couldn't avoid back in 2013. So I actually missed most of this match, where I know most of the other guys on the podcast were here live. So we'll have to do it properly in due course. I just had to go off the replays at the time and my research of late. Anyway, here we are. We're playing the Cowboys this week, so I thought we'll break the rule a little bit, look at an elimination final from 2013. So not a week 2 final, but a week 1 final, this one, but still the same stakes at play, the opportunity to live or die, depending on the result, basically, for the 2024 season against the same opponent. So it's well known for that 7-tackle event. Let's call that 7-tackle try. 2013 Sharks v Cowboys. Heading into it, we'll go straight into the form guide. Cowboys were on a wicked run of wins, including having beaten the Sharks in the second last round of the competition, 31-18. Final round of the competition, they'd whipped the Tigers 50 points to 22. They obviously beat us. They beat the Knights 26-6. They beat the Titans 22-10 and the Panthers 36-4, while the Sharks a bit up and down. So we beat the Raiders with a spare part side in Canberra, 38-18. The Raiders were out of the running, while the Sharks really couldn't finish anything other than 5th. So they rested Todd Carney, Paul Gallen, and others. And big Bryce Gibbs scored his first try since the 2005 grand final. Unfortunately, went down the week before. I believe it was on Father's Day, 31 points to 18 against the Cowboys on a sunny Sunday afternoon at Shark Park. Thurston ran right there. A big win, huge upset against the eventual premiers, the Roosters, the week before that on a Monday night, 32 points to 22. Big halftime lead. Chris Heitington with a 1-on-1 steal. The Roosters came back, but the Sharks held on. The famous 22-18 win, which we covered a few weeks ago. Myself and Kelly looked at that one with the Fafita last second play. The grubber through, or the kick through, and the beating everyone to the in goal and scoring down at Win. And then a disappointing loss to the Knights, preceding that 18 points to 14. So Sharks weren't in particularly good form. They'd had a good start to a good middle of the year in the 2013 season. Opened the year with a win. The cloud of Asada hung the entire way through, bit up and down. Got a few wins together, were looking good, and then did enough to make it. They didn't quite make the top 4, which they probably should have. Maybe in hindsight, I remember at the time there was a lot of feeling that they should have, and if they beat the Cowboys, they were a chance. Unfortunately, they didn't. They finished 5th, while the Cowboys had a pretty rough season and finished with a wet sail, including those 5 matches in a row that we can see here. Rolling onto the actual teams themselves. So the Sharks, number 1, Michael Gordon. The wingers are very young, Sasai Feki with Bo Ryan. And the centres, Ben Pomeroy, John O'Wright. The halves, Todd Carney, Jeff Robson. The front row of Andrew Fafita, John Morris, Sam Tagatese. And the back row of Luke Lewis, Wade Graham, Paul Gallen, the captain. And the bench of Isaac de Gois, Chris Heitington, Jason Bakuya, Anthony Tupou, the coach Shane Flanagan. Whilst for the Cowboys, some well-known names in there and a few less known. So number 1, Matt Bowen, the fullback. The wingers, Wayne Alugia, which I apart from this game, don't remember too much of, but I do know a lot about number 5, Antonio Winterstein, their centres, Brent Tate, Kane Linnett, the halves, Jonathan Thurston, the captain, and his halfback, Robert Louis. So this is just before the Michael Morgan era, or Michael Morgan bursting onto the scene. The front row of Matthew Scott, Rory Costjason, and James Tarmo, and the back row of Gavin Cooper, Glenn Hall, Joel Reithmother, and the bench of Jaden Hodges, Tariq Sims, Scott Bolton, and some guy in jersey 17 called Jason Taumalolo. They were nicknaming him as JT3. Obviously, you had John Thurston, JT1, James Tarmo, JT2, and then Taumalolo, JT3, and the coach, Neil Henry. So quite a few ins for both sides there coming into the match itself. Matthew Scott, I believe, had overcome a broken finger from the game against the Sharks 2 weeks prior, whilst for the Sharks, bringing back Todd Carney and Paul Gallen, who were arrested for the previous match. Todd Carney had some hamstring complaints, which would become quite pronounced during this match. As we roll into the match itself, unfortunately, I can't provide any highlights. We had an issue with our match last week. Thank you, NRL and YouTube, for blocking that one. So you can get it audio only. That was the 1999 quarterfinal win, 1v8 in the old McIntyre system, Sharks v Broncos on a Sunday afternoon at Shark Park. Sharks 42-20, 7 tries to the good guys. Unfortunately, none of that could be shown due to a blocking thing happening there. So I can't show the highlights here. There's plenty of coverage online. I'm sure most of you remember it well, but we're just going to add a bit of flavour commentary to this from a historical perspective anyway. So unfortunately, a horror start. Sharks kick off. Cowboys had the ball, kicked downfield, and Sasai Feki with his first touch of the ball, the Sharks' first touch of the ball, drops it, and 10 out, wide on the right. Cowboys have a scrum, and in what was not at the time particularly enticing or anything to remember other than being a scrum move, watching it in hindsight, see what it reminds you of. Cough, cough, the 2016 Ben Barber try. So breaking off the back of the scrum, turning inside to Brent Tate, who just goes over completely untouched and brings it around under the posts. And 2-0 in, Cowboys are up 6-0. Horror start. Shortly thereafterwards, the quick hit back, which is the moment that everyone is continuing to talk about, and I'm sure will be dredged up at some stage this week. So it was in the 7th minute. Bo Ryan scored on the 7th tackle to make it 6-all. I looked into it, and we'll cover it a bit more and a bit of the history behind it. But what happened was that the Cowboys were downfield. They finished the set about 10 out. Robert Louis put in a kick. We fielded it and brought it back out, and that was marked as tackle 1 and called as tackle 1. Play continued downfield, and then in subsequent reports, and you see at the time, referee, one of the 2 referees on the field at the time in the old 2-referee system, Matt Chechen, sorry, I think it was Chechen was the pronunciation, did eventually, did fluff his lines and call 4 twice. So what should have been the 5th tackle was called 4th. The Channel 9 tackle counter kind of stopped and played out to the 5th tackle, but the commentators didn't comment. No one commented at the time. Tagatese had a barnstorming run on what should have been the 6th tackle and a handover. Quick play the ball, spin it right. Carney out to Pomeroy, who gives it on to Bo Ryan, who scores. And a good kick from out wide there by Michael Gordon to tie it up at 6-all. So there we go. Moving on from there, no one would really hear or complain anything further about that until closer to halftime. Thurston got a penalty goal in the 16th minute, and Pom hit back with a try. Had quite a few guys on him to score in the 23rd. Did some good work there, and the Sharks kind of held on. It was a bit of a seesawing first half. I must admit, I did see at the time the first half before I missed the second half due work. And watching the replay as well, I didn't feel like we were comfortable or in control. The Cowboys were a threat everywhere with their fast back line and a really mobile and hard-hitting forward pack that were causing us troubles. But anyway, we're up 12-8 at the break. And early in the second half, we had an opportunity down the left. And unfortunately, it found the hands of Wayne Alugia, who ran 90 metres to score. And then they kicked the goal to put him back in front. I missed that goal, made it 12-all, but then Jason Taumalolo went through some pretty tired-looking defence. I think it was a warm day, and also the Cowboys were up 18-12, and things were not looking good at all. Rolling on to the actual the big moments themselves out of completely nowhere. Luke Lewis straightened the attack up. We're about 40 out, poked through the line, got a bit of an offload away, bit of an interchange of passing, and then big slamming Sam finished it off about 15 metres out and barging over to score. Some good interchange of play between Luke Lewis there and also John Morris, which created an opportunity. Now, with the kick from, it was about midway between the sticks and the sideline, kind of the scrum line area. Michael Gordon took it nonchalantly. Very good, accomplished kicker, hit the post. So we remained 2 down with 20 to go as we entered the final stages of the match. It wasn't looking good. 72nd minute, huge moment. Just prior to that, Todd Carney was showing about the 68th minute, strapping his leg hard. So strapping, but basically he was having a hamstring injury, a hamstring issue, was struggling to move. Basically, he was walking around, and he was still providing something for the team, and that he was able to take it at first receiver and still fire a football around, still put a kick in. I think it was his left leg that he was having issues with, but he was strapping at himself and trying to get something out of his leg, because he was on one leg. And so about 10 metres out, John Morris with options left and right. Fafita was caught with the ball on the third tackle, 10 out. John Morris looked right, went left, and there was a 4-on-4 to the left. Jeff Robson came to the line, fired out a cutout pass, which was probably supposed to hit Jono right on the chest. It missed him. Wayne Alugia, the Cowboys winger, had rushed in. It found grass, scooped up by Fecky. He still had work to do, because he had to kind of stop his run to pick it up and then bolt to the corner, which he did. And Brent Tate was coming across, but it ended up going upstairs. It looked a bit touch and go live, whether Fecky had stayed in or not, but the subsequent replays showed that there was no issue at all. There he was, and 20-18 up. Gordon didn't go close with that kick from the left touch line, so it remained a 2-point ball game. And it could have proved fatal, given that I'm sure everyone was there and watched at the time, remembers well that we played down the final few minutes, and again in shades of the 2016 grand final, a kick downfield from Carney goes out just inside the field of play. Great kick, but as good as it gets. Restarts were via a scrum. The Cowboys quickly got their scrum formed to stop the clock, and the clock stopped at 79 minutes and 19 seconds. So it's 41 seconds on the clock. This is crucial. Then in 2 plays, the Cowboys almost win the game. So off the scrum, they go wide, and it went to their winger, Winterstein, who skipped away from Robson and made a huge run downfield. Props to Jason Bakuya and Michael Gordon for running him down and really him in about 40 out. Then Brent Tate from dummy half went left to Thurston with a very, very long pass, basically covered almost half the field. Thurston then goes out left again to Matt Bowen, who draws more defenders, skips, dances, gives it on to Taumalolo, who sucks in 2 defenders, and then Bo Ryan comes off his wing. At that moment, Taumalolo pops an offload away, and Kane Linnett has a saloon passage down the left touch line to break every Sharks fan's heart. And in the process, some guy called John Morris comes screaming across and puts enough pressure on him that he has to kind of dive and doesn't keep his legs in the air. And it wasn't the best finish given the circumstances. Linnett looks like he scored, but his reaction straight away, and I think it was more of a case of the Cowboys players, everyone on the Cowboys team thought he scored except for him, and he kind of stayed down. And I wasn't sure if it was, maybe they were thinking he was hurt or not celebrating. It showed that he was basically didn't have the best poker face in the world, giving himself up that he hadn't scored, and actually the foot is out. And there's the famous, I suppose, quote or recording from Gus Gould as he's going, "The foot is out, the Sharks will win it, the Sharks will win it." But it wasn't over there. There were some absolute scenes afterwards involving the clock at the ground having not moved from that 79 minutes, 19 second marker. So still 41 seconds to go. So they deem that the scrum needs to be repacked. Some shenanigans occur. The Cowboys almost steal it, and then the Sharks win. So we'll go into detail in a sec as to how that all went down. It was a bizarre ending. Gus was calling it a farce, and I'd have to agree with him. And I think everyone that was there at the ground would agree as well. So onto the talking points itself. So the early Barber-esque try scored by Brent Tate off the back of that scrum reminded me that see Barber scoring that try. It's not the first time that's occurred. It's not going to be the last. I'm surprised we haven't seen it be attempted again. I suppose the next one to get away with it will draw comparisons to Barber there. But for the Sharks, from a Sharks perspective, they scored the first try of the 2007 season to Brett Carney was scored in almost identical fashion. A try later that season to Mitch Brown at Parramatta Stadium. So the Sharks' first round win over the Penrith Panthers at Shark Park on a Saturday evening in 2007. First game under the Ricky Stewart tenure came in that fashion. Another try later on that year to Mitch Brown at Parramatta Stadium in a famous Golden Point win occurred that way as well, about midway through the first half. And there was a try to Ben Pomeroy in the later seasons. I think it was 2010, 2011-ish, where he scored in similar fashion at Shark Park as well. Well, Brent Tate scored here, and then obviously we'd say that trick shot to the big game itself. But interesting to see that, especially looking back at these games, you go, how sick, that's our play. No other teams are doing it as well. The seventh tackle try. So this prompted enormous emotions. It still does. The amount of articles written about it, the amount of news and airtime at the time. Yes, errors do occur. Poor Matt Chechen thought that he would never Matt Chechen thought he would never referee again. It was quoted both in the lead up to the 2016 grand final where he officiated, but also in the coverage. Ray Warren refers to it basically immediately before kickoff. So you can see how fresh that was in the minds there. At the moment of time, or at that moment in time when it was scored, no one believed there was any issue. The try was awarded. Everyone was applauding the great running of the ball in the last tackle that the Sharks did. There was no complaints by the Cowboys players. Everyone just carried on. So it was about late in the first half where things had been identified somehow. Alarm bells were ringing. There was a subsequent article that said that, I believe it may have been Graham Annesley in there, had told the refereeing staff, being Henry Perinara and Matt Check-in at halftime, that a seventh tackle try had occurred. They didn't wait to the end of the match. Obviously, the referees were rattled. Interesting view there to let them know before the match ending. Maybe they were trying to, I suppose, get on the front foot there. But it did remind me with the referee in the 2019 grand final, the blue 6 again, or called 6 again. Then it turns out it wasn't. He himself has been interviewed recently and said, coming off the field, he knew straight away as soon as he did it. But coming off the field, there was a lot more presence. There was a lot more people, a lot more cameras on him. He's thinking, oh, is this something? Is this going to be bigger? And obviously, it was enormous and on his mental health. Bottom line, the key part of this is that all players, officials, everyone makes mistakes. Humans make mistakes, and it can be difficult to swallow. Following up from the 2024 first week finals match against Melbourne, where we were roundly and soundly beaten, there was a few decisions there that I suppose, were a bit hard to swallow, but it is what it is. I think everyone, no matter what sport it is, there's going to be some semblance or belief that, hey, the referee had it in for us. This happened in the 7th minute. It was a 7 tackle try, but it created all kinds of vitriol, still does. The Cowboys had experienced a dud call against Manly the year before, with a Manly scoring off basically what was a blatant knock on. The referee looked at it, the video referee looked at it for a long period of time and deemed it a try, bizarrely, at a crucial point in the match, which ended their run in the second week of the finals there. This time around, you can look at the final score, 20 points to 18. Yes, it does make a difference, but with another 73 minutes of play, maybe not. But it happened. On a side point, the Sharks would, back in 1978, get the rough end of the stick there, in that Manly, apparently or famously, in a semi-final win over Parramatta on the way to the grand final that year, had a try awarded on the 7th tackle. Also, apparently, this is according to an NRL article on their website, benefited from 3 7-tackle sets in that match, whilst Parramatta had several 5-tackle sets awarded against them by Greg Hartley, who also officiated the grand final and then officiated the replay on the Tuesday, which resulted in a try at a key moment of that match also being awarded on the 7th tackle. So whether it's the footy gods levelling things up, I don't know, but there was talk. There was a lot of journalists talking about the Asada scandal and how much of a joke the Sharks were, and just using that to fuel their ammunition, saying that the club should be folded. And this was an example of that, which was absolutely crazy. Or moved to Perth. Others were coming in saying that the Sharks should volunteer their place to the Cowboys the following week because they were undeserved victors, especially with all the Asada stuff happening. It was just crazy times. I remember that the media hoopla around it was enormous, and just you could talk all day about it. I'll end it there, but that's what this game was known for. But I'm hoping that this little chat will cover the other parts of it that were probably in some ways just as farcical. We'll talk about the end in a sec. So slamming Sam, take it easy, scoring a famous semi-final try that should have got us back level. Michael Gordon missed the kick, unfortunately, but I'll bring up his stats because he scored a semi-final try 2 years later against the South Sydney Rabbitohs at the same venue, first week of the finals, elimination final, at a crucial stage of the second half as well, when it looked like Souths were getting back into the match. And it was just such a great performance by him. He made the run immediately before that 7th tackle try, which, yes, there should have been a hand over there, but he didn't know it was the last tackle. He hadn't been told it was the last tackle. So he made 20 metres, barnstorming down the right. Obviously started as a centre, moved to be a second rower, then moved into the middle of the field. And just this game, I know he had his detractors, and I may have been one of them at times when it seemed like, hey, come on, mate, run a bit harder. You've got a huge frame. But this one, he was fearsome. Every touch of the ball, he was causing them grief. He was, dare I say it, Fafita-esque at times, and did similar against South a few years later. And then, obviously, at the 5-week layoff in 2016, there was talk, do you play Capewell or do you play Tagatese? Underdone, hasn't played in 5 weeks. Do you bring him back? Shane Flanagan brought him back, and to his credit, played not a starring role, but a crucial role. Didn't put a foot wrong in the 2016 grand final coming off the bench. When he came off, we didn't lose much. He was still making good carries, still shoring up the middle, and just great to see a player who was signed at the depths of 2011, a player that we signed for the Gold Coast Titans that I admit, and I'm sure plenty others too would admit that's okay signing, but he's not going to win the grand final for us, right? Well, I'd argue that he almost won this game for us. He was that good. So I'll bring up his stats now whilst I quickly sort that out. He was a player who played a total of for the Sharks. He played for Melbourne, Gold Coast, Cronulla, Brisbane. Cronulla was the team who played the most matches for, 117. Only 9 tries, 2 of them coming in huge matches in semi-finals. One of them against Souths, and had a win percentage of 58.12. So probably indicative of the fact that he joined a side that was on the up after joining midway through 2011, which obviously by all accounts and memories was not a great year. So yeah, great to see slamming Sam making an impact, and that was a crucial point in time, and you could see how much it meant to him in his celebrations there. Moving on to Clock Gate. So I recorded it all. It was absolute farcical scene. So you heard me giving this game summary before that the Cowboys had gone 90 metres in, well, essentially 41 seconds. Sounds similar to a particular match in 2016. Very much so. Different venue, but basically carbon copy. They've gone right, made a break. We've cut them down, and then we are absolutely shot to the left. They swing it left. We put them out. The teams are celebrating. There's almost talk of teams, or basically teams are about to shake hands when referee Matt Chetkin says, pack the scrum. And then Gal comes out of the scrum to talk to the referee, and it's absolutely blowing up. The crowd is going crazy. The commentator's going, what's going on? Surely the clock. Gus identifies it and sees that there's still 41 seconds left on the main clock. So Gallen rightly says, well, what's going on? Like there's been way more than 40. It was 41 seconds to go when you pack the scrum back downfield. There's been way more since then. What's doing? The referee basically says, we don't or have no control over the clock or the ground clock, basically, and we have to abide by that and go off that and pack the scrum. And Gal's refusing. He said, what are they saying in your ears? Matt Chetkin saying nothing, not hearing anything. So obviously no bunker at the time, but the video referee is also maybe scrambling or not realising the issue at all. Surely they would, given the hysteria. Surely they would, given that there's got to be some kind of check and balance here. Clearly, the center referee does not control the clock or does not manage the clock. I'm not sure if other sports, obviously amateur sports on a weekend they do, but it clearly didn't hear. The scrum was packed, but in the process of the scrum being packed, 18 minutes go up on the big screen. And so Wally Lewis in commentary comes in and says, we need a big push from the Cowboys here. Gus is actually blowing up saying this scrum shouldn't even be packed. What are you talking about? The thing is a farce. And then basically Rabs comes in and says it should be 11 seconds left on the clock. They can't even go because there's 18 minutes there. There's waiting. Finally, the scrum packs. There is no clock on the TV screen. I don't know if there's a clock at the ground. Probably not. The scrum is fed by Jeff Robson. Thurston jumps out basically for an offside position, desperate, and slaps the ball out of Robson's hand. Robson dives, thankfully, and then gives it to Gallen to take the first tackle. And then everyone thinks that'll be that. Gus says, surely it's only one tackle. Then there's a second tackle. We play it out further. Then there's a third tackle. And then I recorded 27 seconds pass and a very faint siren. It almost sounds like a phantom siren comes on. The players are kind of looking at each other. A scuffle starts. The Cowboys are frustrated. They're trying to obviously win the game. And they had the potential to with 27 seconds being played instead of 11. Essentially, if no one asked about it, if the players didn't have the wherewithal or if Gal wasn't paying attention to it, saying, hey, shouldn't this match be over? Who knows how much longer the game would have gone for, especially if the clock wasn't moving. And if it ended up in a Cowboys try there, gosh, that nullifies the 7 tackle try, right? Who knows? But whether it's deliberate or not, I don't know. Things can be more attributed to malice and to incompetence than malice. So I'm going to say the incompetence line there, but gee, that would have been a one for the ages. Thank you, Allianz Stadium and the NRL for their competence in that one. The Sharks got away with it. I know it's the same game as a 7 tackle try controversy that we benefited from, but I suppose other things happened back in 1978. 2 things square up over 30 to 40 years, not sure, but that was Clockgate and it was crazy. And the scenes panning around the ground afterwards, or during and after, of just baffled and bemused and just, I'd say, borderline vitriolic fans was a sight to behold. I don't know what it would have been like being there, but let us know if you were. And then moving on to the finals rivalry. Obviously, we are playing the Cowboys again. This was the first meeting in a final. The good guys won. 2015 would be their second. That would be a 39-0 win in week 2 of the finals to the Cowboys. We weren't in it that entire match. They just Matt Scott carting it up about 30 metres from the kickoff, and that was that. The following year, 2016 prelim, we were rested. So we won that one 32-20, but it was 32 points to 6 with about 15 to go, and then we stopped tackling. We said, okay, no injuries before the grand final. So that scoreline flattered the Cowboys. That was one of the great Shark performances. And then, unfortunately, in the subsequent 2 finals that have occurred since 2017 by 1 point in extra time, Michael Morgan in a game that could... We absolutely butchered that. 2017 things just didn't click. They did at times during the year, but did not click in the moments required. Some questionable decisions by Ashley Klein that day had the entire NRL really questioning, I'd say, or at least the fan base. I remember a lot of people supporting other teams going, you got the rough end of the stick there, but still you got to be better than the referee. And that side, as frustrating as it was, the way they played did not deserve to win. That Cowboys team did go all the way through the grand final from 8th after basically almost being mathematically out and then sneaking into the finals. Well, Sharks were 5th. And then the 2022 home 2v3 Valentine Holmes Golden Point match, which I won't mention any further of. There is a picture there of Kane Linnett's left foot striking the chalk before the ball, did just before the ball. And into the fallouts, the Sharks won 20 points to 18. Tries to Bo Ryan, Ben Pomeroy, Sam Take It Easy, Sasai Feki. Michael Gordon with 2 from 4. Could have been a bit more comfortable if he got those kicks, but that's another story for another day. Brent Tate, Wayne Alugia, Jason Taumalola, the tries. Thurston 3 from 4. They're the final standings there. Obviously, Cowboys out. Sharks played the Manly Seagulls, who were busted by injuries. Unfortunately, we were injury affected as well. Todd Carney basically admitted almost immediately after the match that it'd be an absolute miracle for him with his hamstring injury to play the following week. So he didn't. He was replaced by Chad Townsend, and the Sharks were down for basically the entire match, despite being injury ravaged. Manly, with their big game experience, just controlled things. Then late on, it looked like we got a try to level things up, I believe through Paul Gallen, and it was John Morris that was found to have committed an indiscretion in the lead up, taking out, I think he played the ball and then took out the marker, which could have had a play on, I think maybe Jeff Robson, who got it on, and then subsequent Manly penalty, and they won, I think it was 24 points to 18, unfortunately. So that season was gone, which, not that you'd ever say it was a good thing, but given the Asada things and the drama and the controversy and the like, it would have been difficult. We would have been playing Souths at the Olympic Stadium the following week. Goodness knows how we would have gone there. But Manly ended up winning that one after being down 14-0 early, went through to the grand final and lost to the Roosters. And they had Cherry Evans, as much as it pains me to say this, winning the Dally, so the Clive Churchill in a losing team, and Michael Jennings scoring a try at a crucial point of the game off a blatant forward pass. So not that I'd wish Manly to win anything. Manly was a little hard done by in that grand final. Was it serendipity based on previous benefits they got from Greg Hardley? Who knows? Anyway, so 20 points to 18 it was. Hopefully it's a bit more comfortable this weekend, or just win, given our current record. Just win, even if it's 1-0, I would take that. It's not going to quite the critics, but a loss certainly won't either. So just win, guys. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you were there, send through your accounts of the match. How much did you know it was a 7-tackle try? How crazy was Clockgate at the end? Did you think we were gone when Fecky dropped the ball straight up and we conceded straight away? Maybe that puts paid to Boldo's assertions during the debrief that teams had dropped the kickoff lose straight away. It wasn't quite the kickoff. It was a downfield kick. So it wasn't a first play error, but it was basically a first play in possession error, which doesn't help. So come on, Sharks, do better this week. In the meantime, as always, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you can. Spread the word if you can. We'll revisit this game another time, I'm sure, with a few more of the guys that were actually there to give it a thorough review rather than my just quick, hurried notes. And hopefully we'll be able to get some highlights back on for you soon. In the meantime, up, just win. Cheers, guys.